Hey curlies, I'm Scarlett, the creator of Wonder Curl, and in this video we are going to be discussing hair porosity. Porosity. Okay, I don't know why I had to say it so many times, but so many times when curlies are asking me about advice about which products that they should use for their hair, they often just lead with, I'm type blah. So I'm type 3, I'm type 4, and they don't give me any more information. And you guys, your hair type really isn't the most important thing. It's how your hair is going to absorb the product. So that is what porosity basically means. Porosity is how your hair absorbs water, liquids. It's how it opens like a sponge to accept your products. And this is what's going to make the biggest difference. So that was like a really quick, because you know what, there's tons of videos that's going to tell you exactly what porosity is, but that's not what this video is about. We're going to be discussing high porosity, medium porosity, low porosity, and then there's super low porosity hair. And I've actually have had both high porosity, and now my hair is medium and low porosity hair. So I feel like I have a little bit of experience from myself to talk about porosity on my own, and some of the ways that I've overcome working with the low porosity parts of my hair. All right, so basically, as we mentioned earlier, the porosity is how your hair is going to be absorbing your moisture, your product. And a simple way that I tell people is to figure out the porosity of your hair is just simply get it wet. How long does it take you to get your hair wet? And if your hair is high porosity, as soon as you stick your head under the water, it just gets wet. It just immediately just gets limp. It absorbs all that water. Then your hair is high porosity. Medium porosity may take a little bit of time, and of course low porosity, you got to really get underneath the water and work it into your hair. And then I find that with my low porosity part of my hair is that once that water is in, my hair just starts to poof up immediately. And that's something that I've noticed that didn't happen when my hair was on the high porosity. It kind of like held onto that water a little bit longer, and it stayed a little bit limp a little bit longer. So that's basically very quickly again how to determine low versus medium versus high porosity hair is just get your hair wet. There's all of these different tests. The easiest one is get your hair wet. I say that when your hair is on the low porosity, the cuticles are a lot more tightly compact. So think about the back of a duck, or and how water just sort of glides right off. Water doesn't go into the duct. So our hair, low porosity hair, is similar to that. Like water doesn't get into it. Water might just sit on top of it the same way products will just sit on top of your hair. It's not going to absorb. It's not going to be absorbed into the hair. And this is the problem with low porosity hair. The other thing that I've come to understand, and this is typical but not for everybody, obviously there's always going to be exceptions to the rule, is that I have found that people who have fine strands of hair tend to have high porosity hair, and people who have more dense hair, or I should say people with low porosity hair, tend to have more high dense hair, meaning they have more strands of hair. Their hair tends to be a lot thicker. They have more of it. So that's just something that I have noticed, and there's always exceptions to the rule. Obviously, I have worked with some Latina women, some Puerto Rican descent women who have low porosity hair, but their strands, they don't have as much hair. Their hair is more on the low density side. But this isn't typical for everybody. This is just something that I have observed over the years of all the different hair types and textures that I've worked with. But this is something that I have noticed. So with low porosity hair, everybody starts with low porosity hair. As once our hair pushes out of our scalps, your hair is going to be low porosity. But what's going to determine the difference between the medium and the high porosity is also going to be about how much manipulation you do to your hair, the heat, coloring. All of this is going to affect the porosity levels of your hair. I say that I had high porosity hair for a while because I always colored my hair. I always liked my hair to be a lighter brown. I always felt like my natural color was a little too dark for my skin, and I liked my hair to be slightly lighter color. So I always lightened my hair, which made my hair more high porosity. When that was the case, I noticed that my hair would get wet quickly. My hair absorbed products very easily, but I also noticed that my hair would feel dry more quickly, meaning like I had to use more product on my hair to keep my cuticles down. I had to work it a little bit more, but the definition was a lot more pronounced when my hair was high porosity versus now that I no longer color my hair. I rarely use any heat. I think I in the four years since I've been growing my hair back out, I've straightened it 3 times. Yes, 3 times. And I always keep the flat iron on a very low setting so I don't try to damage my hair. So now that my hair is in its most natural state, I have noticed that my hair is medium porosity right around the front, like this area of my hair all the way to the back. And then the very center of my hair, which is the densest, thickest part of my hair, is the low porosity part. And this part of my hair, so this is a braid out, so you're not going to see the difference right now. But if I had my hair in a wash ago, you would totally notice the difference a lot more. But the center part of my hair, which is more of the low density part, tends to, I call it like the problem child. It needs a little bit more work to get that moisture into it. I tend to have to apply slightly more water, slightly more product to the very middle part of my hair, and it tends to frizz, or I won't say frizz, the clumps separate more easily with the low density part of my hair because it doesn't hold that moisture in as quickly and easily as the rest of my hair. So with that being said, now that you know when you get into the water, when you get into the shower, how are you going to figure out whether your hair is low, high, medium porosity? Just pay attention. How much water do you need to get your hair to feel wet? And one thing that I've noticed is that when I have straightened my hair, it does seem to make my hair a little bit more feel like low porosity, meaning like I have to stay under the water a little bit longer for the molecules of the water to start to get into the hair and get the curls to come back. So I'm talking about like when your hair has been in its natural state, you haven't bombarded it with a ton of product, because again, the amount of product that you use is going to affect the porosity level of your hair. So if you have product buildup, that is also going to make your hair on a more low porosity feeling side, even if your hair is high porosity. All right, so regardless of your hair type, whether you are a 3B all the way to a 4B, I would say the exception would be 4C hair, that Z-type pattern. 4C hair tends to be more low porosity versus high porosity. I have yet to come across someone with type 4C hair who had high porosity hair, unless they did color their hair. You know, they colored it blonde, which then makes the hair more porous. But typically, whether your hair is on the spectrum of, and I say 3A, well, 3B to 4B, just because that's the hair that I'm typically working with when I'm doing hair demonstrations or doing consultations. So between 3B to 4B, your hair can be on any of the spectrum of porosity levels, and that's going to be more key on how you're going to be choosing your products. Okay, now let's talk about products. What kind of products should you be using depending on your porosity level? because low porosity hair has a harder time getting moisture into it, then you're going to want to work with more liquidy products with smaller molecules, products that's going to help to hydrate the hair. And when you think of hydration, think of inside. You know, you drinking water, you are hydrating your body. When you get out of the shower and you put lotion on, it's more like you're moisturizing. So let's think about it in that sense. Hydration is inside, moisture is more of the sealing of that moisture. So with low porosity hair, what I have found worked for me is doing a combination. So I like to work with my Get Slick Hair Smoothie. It is more, it's a liquidy, more liquid product. The molecules are smaller. It has coconut oil in it. And I know some of you guys are like, but protein. Coconut oil is not a protein. It actually reduces protein loss in hair. So just keep that in mind. You don't want to use straight up coconut oil on your hair. I would recommend against that. But if you have a product that has some coconut oil in it, it's not going to be bad for your hair. So I like to use the Get Slick Hair Smoothie wet hair. I like my hair to be sopping wet when I am applying product versus when my hair was high porosity. When my hair was high porosity, I preferred my hair to be damp. So that was another difference that I've noticed in how I had to work with my hair depending on the porosity level. So when your hair is low porosity, you need more water. Water is going to help to open the cuticles. It's going to help to your hair to absorb the product, and you might have to do some work. You might have to scrunch it and squish it to get that product into your hair. So you want to do steam treatments when you have low porosity hair. And again, that steam helps to open the cuticle. When you have low porosity hair, you want to do more shampooing. Shampooing is going to help to agitate the cuticles. Remember, so cuticles, I'm going to be using this word a lot because when you have your porosity, it's going to be determined by the cuticle level of your hair, how densely packed your cuticles are, or if they're frayed and they're open. So definitely, if your hair is low porosity, you want to open that cuticle up so that you can get as much moisture into your hair as you can. So shampooing, I shampoo my hair every other week. And I might even start shampooing it a little bit more often. And I also, after a shampoo, I always follow up with a deep conditioning treatment. So I use the clarifying charcoal shampoo bar, and that helps to, again, open my cuticle, get that water into my hair, but it also removes any product, any buildup, any oils, any toxins, all of these things built up in your hair. So you want to make sure that when you have low porosity hair, that you always start with a clean slate. Deep conditioning treatments. If you have a hooded hair dryer, perfect. I like to sit under the dryer when I'm doing my deep conditioning treatments because, again, it's going to help to open the cuticle. That's going to be key when you have low porosity hair. When you have very super low porosity hair, and this is very, very resistant hair. This is probably the toughest hair to work with. And I have had the experience of trying to do a hair demonstration on someone who had super low porosity hair. And she just could not do a wash and go. As soon as I put water in her hair, it just beat it right off. So if you have super low porosity hair, your hair tends to feel more coarse. It feels more dry. It just feels resistant. Then you may not be able to do wash and goes. You may want to do more twist outs, braid outs, and with those styles, because your hair is going to be kept in a certain look, whether it's a twist or the braid a little bit longer, it's going to help give your hair more time to absorb those products. But I do still recommend sitting under a hooded hair dryer if you have low porosity hair, especially because, again, the heat, the gentle heat of sitting under a dryer is going to help your products to get absorbed into your hair. Now, with high porosity hair, I also still recommend sitting under a hooded hair dryer because especially if your hair is fine. So I might have to do like another follow-up because there's so much going on here. So with fine hair, okay, let me back up a little bit. Hair will have 2 or 3 layers of onto it. So there's the cortex, there's another layer, I can't remember the name of it, and then the cuticle, which is the outer layer. I think it's the medulla, whatever. Hair has 3 layers. Don't quote me on the names of those layers. I'm gonna have to do a little bit more research. I'm just doing this video on the fly, but I know that hair has 3 layers. But if you have fine hair, your hair might have 2 layers. So you don't have that much room for damage. Whereas if you have thick hair, low porosity, dense hair, you have 3 layers. So you have a little bit more room for damage, and you might even want a little bit of damage to get your cuticles open. But if you have fine hair, high porosity hair, you don't have that room for damaging your hair. You want to do as least amount of damage, and sitting under the hooded hair dryer is also going to help to improve the health of your hair versus air drying. And I already did a video about air drying your hair. So with high porosity hair, you're going to want to opt for products that's going to help to seal the moisture into your hair, especially if you've been coloring it, especially if you went to like blonde color. So I was actually a platinum blonde for a couple of years. Loved it. Loved having blonde hair. It was so much fun. But my hair was extremely damaged. I had to apply the moisturizing hair pudding and the sealing hair butter and the Get Set hair jelly just to keep my hair hydrated and moisturized a little bit longer. The pudding worked as my hydration. It had a little bit more liquid than the butter, and that helps to seal the moisture in. And then the butter on top of that gave my hair that extra layer of protection. And then the jelly helped to seal in, to help to set the curl. So if you have a high porosity hair and your hair is damaged, then you might need to use a little bit thicker products. But if you have high porosity, low density hair, meaning you don't have a lot of hair, your hair is on a thinner side, then you may just want to work with one product, which is like the pudding, something that's going to help to temporarily seal in the cuticles, and then a gel over that. Low porosity hair, you want something that's going to get into the hair to keep it moisturized, but then you also want to close up that cuticle. So I like to follow up with my low porosity hair with the sealing hair butter and then the Get Set hair jelly. So I hope I didn't confuse you. I hope I didn't confuse you. But really, your porosity level is going to determine the types of products you want to go with. So let's step away from hair typing, and I feel like I'm part of all of these different natural hair groups, and there's one that's called like the type 4 hair group, which is awesome, I think, but I wish that we had more of a group for low porosity. We should have like the low porosity hair group. We should have the high porosity hair group and a medium hair porosity group. And you might even notice that your hair is going to have 3 different porosity levels on it. So you might be a part of all of those groups, because how your hair absorbs the product is going to determine more what kind of products you should be using, how you should be using those products. I say if your hair is low porosity, you're going to want more water, less product. If your hair is high porosity, you might want a little less water, slightly more product. But again, play around with it and you will figure out until you get that right balance for yourself. And I have just come out with the perfect product that's going to help you figure it all out. It is the Healthy Hair Planner. My planners arrive in a couple of days, and I'm going to be doing a video specifically for the Healthy Hair Planner, but it's going to help you to get your hair regimen down, get your health right, everything. So, all right, this video is going to be 20 minutes, and I'm going to stop talking now, but I hope that this helped you a little, helped you just some to figure out your porosity level and some of the ways that you can work around with it. All right, guys, thank you so much. If you stuck to the end, thank you. If you like it, then thumbs up. subscribe so that you can get more of these types of videos. And please, I love your comments. So send me your comments, your questions. Send them all. Be a part of the Healthy Hair Gang. There's the Healthy Hair Summit. We have 3 videos that you can watch right now. And then if you want to be part of the Healthy Hair Gang, where you get lifetime access to all of the videos from the last 2 summits that we held, then you can be a part of the gang. Yeah, so that's it, guys.